The IDPros podcasts on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network are brought to you by Bird Dog Shorts. Dominate summer with an amazing pair of shorts and a free Yeti-style tumbler when you order over at birddogs.com/pool. That's birddogs.com/pool.
Yeah! Run him, run him! Stay on him, stay on him! Stop on the ball!
The IDP Pro Players Pod is a proud member of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, home of the hottest, smartest, and fastest growing sports gambling and fantasy football providers in professional sports entertainment to date. And now, without any further delay, here's your veteran, infamous No Dirty O in-season and senior IDP pros, Johny The Greek and Gary, the IDP tipster, coming off the edge as always with their deepest standard league NFL defensive takes.
Welcome back to the IDP Pros podcast. My name is Johny The Greek. I am joined this week, as is tradition, with the senior IDP analyst for the SGPN network, the man, the myth, the legend, the IDP tipster, Mr. Gary Van Dyke. Gary, how are you, sir?
Man, every time you do that myth, legend shit, I'm looking around like, who the hell we got on the show today? And look at this. We got Hollywood.
We got a very special guest this week. We've got at Hollywood Titan of IDP Nation, DEVY IDP Grind. He's a writer, a ranker, a podcaster, a known degenerate. He's been doing this for a very long time, and we are happy to have him. Hollywood, how are you, sir?
Doing just fine, man. Just doing the breaking down the team drafts right now for articles. They got some IDP DEVY stuff that I've been putting out. And then podcasting, we've just been same thing, man. Recruiting and on the college side, and you've got the draft and teams OTAs now. We're not too far from getting cranked up for real.
It's true. We're just a couple months away from the season, and we're definitely going to talk some DEVY this week. Let's start at the beginning, though. Let's tell the people how you got into fantasy football, how you got into IDP. Talk us through that.
Well, I've played it for a long time. One of the guys I used to work with started the league, so that's how it first started, but that was way back, right? It started writing because I did something for a personal league I had. I just wrote little things for them, and they were like, well, you should do that all the time. And well, I guess here we are. So the IDP was it kind of just happened all at once, right? Because I played the regular offense only and stuff, kickers and special teams and all that shit. And I was like, man, I like defense, and I just Googled it or whatever and found a basic league because I didn't know what it was. So it was one defensive lineman, one linebacker, one defensive back, and I was like, I like this. And the very next year, I found like 2 or 3 of the hardest leagues I could find. Just jumped all in.
Nice. Yeah. Hell yeah. Trial by fire. I love it. I love it in the NFL, and I love it in fantasy football.
There was a lot of fire, I'm telling you.
That's good stuff, man. That's awesome. And let's just get this out of the way. What is your favorite format and platform? So you're a trial by fire guy. Did you go full super flex, like full IDP, defensive tackles, corners, and stuff?
Yes, I did. It's like I got out of those one little plastic kiddie pools and walked straight around and jumped into defense the way it went. So I was playing like D tackles, defensive ends, linebacker, safeties, corners. You had premiums for the D tackles, and it was sink or swim real early.
Man, and what about a platform? Are you like an MFL guy, or what's your favorite platform?
Yeah, I am. I mean, that's just where I play. I don't know, probably 90% of my leagues. I think I've got one each on the other platforms just to have the knowledge of how it works and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm all MFL.
Does that include DEVY?
Well,
is that the best one for DEVY? Let me ask you that.
Well, if you're playing straight DEVY, no. But if you're playing campus to Canton, yes, because you get your NFL side, your Canton.
Hold on for me. But the first thing I want to say, am I doing this wrong? Am I saying DEVY, or is it that Southern accent of yours?
Oh. I've only heard it called DEVY.
Okay.
It sounds great. So Hollywood, best platform for DEVY. Fantrax is an option. You said MFL is good for campus to Canton. So let's talk about that. What is a campus to Canton league? And in general, what is DEVY? What's the difference between that and normal fantasy football?
Okay, so DEVY is college, right? It's all college. There's no NFL side to it. So it's the same principle as NFL, but it's just college only. And then there's, just like in the NFL, there's so many different variations of what conferences can play and positions and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's just college and NFL. And then campus to Canton it's a mix of both, right? So you're drafting these players as college players, freshmen, incoming freshmen, and you can keep them all the way till they retire or whatever, start to finish, and have like a Hall of Fame player and stuff like that. But it's just a mix. You play college and you play NFL. There's a college winner. There's an NFL winner. So it's pretty fun. Most of those leagues pay pretty good too if you're in the right leagues. They're pretty fun to play.
Down! On the ball!
Do you have a preference? Do you prefer playing on Fantrax or MFL better? Or if someone wants to start new with this, what would you recommend?
Well, if they're going to play DEVY or Campus to Canton, they're going to have Fantrax because they're the only one that's carrying it, the college side. So what you would do is you'd have your college on Fantrax, and then your NFL side you could have on MFL, my fantasy league. So that's not a problem. And that's my favorite, is the Campus to Canton. I like the college because it was different, right? And I was like, yeah, now I'm really getting somewhere. And then the next year somebody asked me to play at Campus to Canton, and I was like, man, this is a whole nother level of stuff right here. So
I need to get the lowdown on you on the best resources, man, for rankings and strategies.
Yeah, so I mean, you can find some stuff on DEVY, but they're more really like straight articles, right? They're not fantasy related. So you may see somebody say, well, here's your 10 best defensive players, but, for IDP, they might not actually be the best 10. But you can find some of those pieces, and there'll be some guys that'll write an article or here and there. But as far as rankings, I was telling Johnny, I don't know that there's anybody does it besides me. I mean, if there is, I apologize. I'm not aware of it. But
Hey, you've got to be it. You're kind of the island, man, and you have been.
So I do the DEVY rankings, and you can find them on the Patreon. That's where I have those. IDP Nation Patreon. It's over 220 now. IDPs on the DEVY side rank.
Gee, man.
And so there's been some people followed that for the DEVY stuff because I guess, like we said, you can't hardly find that stuff. And, they're finding it with me, and I like to do it. But we've got some that I guess, I don't know what type of leagues they are in, but you can draft like before college. So they're kind of drafting like high school players. I've got 3 different articles. I had the top 25 recruits coming in this year that would be freshmen. Then I did like a top 20 for 2024, and then I did a top 15 for 2025. That's high school rankings. That was pretty freaking hard to do. I'm sure I missed people because you can't watch them all.
The IDP Pro podcasts are presented by Edge Boost, the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in betting advances. Imagine what you can do with that increased bankroll. Get down on some of your favorite futures without tying up your bankroll for months on end. You can double down on your favorite bet, use it to create an awesome middle, or hedge that parlay you've almost hit. Make sure you stick around for my Edge Boost Double Down Play of the Day towards the end of this episode. Edge Boost isn't some sleazy loan shark. They charge 0 interest. Do you know of a way you can access more money to place on your favorite bets without paying any interest? Well, you do now. Support SGPN and grow your bankroll by heading on over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. To sign up, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 21 years or older to use. If you have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And I want people to understand that are listening right now. I am freaking impressed because we know guys do IDP and they do offense or dirty O. And man, I know that I could sit here and have a chat with you about the NFL right on top of all this college and this knowledge that you've already dug into and you're putting out here, man. That's some shit. That's deep.
Don't miss Johny The Greek's Cornerback Corner this season exclusively on Substack. Head over to cornerbackcorner.substack.com and subscribe now to catch Season 4 of the Cornerback Corner. Don't settle for set-and-forget corner options. Maximize your production and let's take home those titles. With a 72% accuracy over the last 3 seasons, 15-plus years of streaming corner experience, and 20-plus years of IDP experience, You're in capable hands with Johny the Greek. Join me for the best streaming corner options and advice every week, all season long, in both written and audio format at cornerbackcorner.substack.com.
A couple of started asking me, "Hey man, do you have this?" And I was like, "This is crazy. Who asked for high school?" Because I always watch a little recruiting tape anyway, so I knew some of them. And then they asked me 2 or 3 more times. I was like, "Well, I'll do one and see how it goes." And so it's starting to grow. It's kind of crazy.
Ride the wave.
Right?
So next year's draft, we just got done with all our rookie drafts this year. When we get into next year's draft, who are some of the best IDP prospects you think we're going to be talking about?
Man, there's some really good ones. So you've got, I think, a player like Jared Verse, who should have come out this year, really. The guy from Florida State, the edge rusher. He'll be coming out next year. You got Dallas Turner for Alabama, who played next to Will Anderson and was so good. So he'll be coming out. It's going to be a pretty good class for edge rushers again because it's pretty deep. You got Josaiah Stewart, who transferred to Michigan. You've got, trying to look for some linebackers here. You've got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. His dad played in the NFL. You've got Bryce Gallagher, Cedric Gray, Nick Jackson. There's quite a few players coming out next year. I think the class overall will be deeper, but there'll be some good players.
Nice. Any generational talents coming out in the next couple of years? Any guys that have just blown you away so much that you're like, this is the next Aaron Donald or this is the next TJ Watt type deal?
I think Jared Verse is the guy right now, right? To come from Albany University and transfer to Florida State. The season he put up down there, that just don't happen when you transfer like that. And then he goes back. He's going to go back this year. Yeah, man, that's a big jump, and his production was just as good, if not better. So I think he's one of the leaders right now in that class. I think we'll know more this year. About halfway through the season, we'll know then if there's any underclassmen that's really standing out. It'll be interesting to see, though, for sure.
How important is scouting in DEVY? I mean, it's got to be like continuous.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's what you put into it or what you want to get out of it, right? So, if you're in it just for the pure fun, you're probably not digging as deep as a lot of people do. For me, I like the NFL. And I thought, well, I found out about college, and I thought, well, I'll try it. And once I tried it, and I like the college side, I was like, well, this is kind of cool because I'm doing college, and that's helping me for my NFL a little bit. Preparing. And then once I started doing the DEVY stuff, the camps, Cantons, and now you're looking at high school. So it's just like a continuous cycle. Because to me, that's interesting. I don't know, a 5-star high schooler, how does he do when he goes to college and the NFL, and what's that path, and is there any correlate? That's how my brain works. I'm like, okay, he was a 5-star. Is he really that good coming out of high school? Or
Nice, man. I get it. I can imagine especially if you happen to hit on one of those freshmen or a really young college guy, a high school guy, and you watch that guy go through and develop, end up in the NFL, even if that guy might not know that somebody is doing that. That's kind of, that's cool to think that the time was put into that for a game. For basic game, you're supplying a commodity that very few people are probably supplying at that.
Yep.
So Hollywood, you know this. Back in the day, Yahoo used to have college fantasy, and we were probably in a couple leagues together back then. So I've had a taste of this before. So I want to ask you about the challenges of playing college fantasy football when there are so many conferences and the player pool is so huge. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. It can be overwhelming, right? Jumping to college, that's a big jump. You're going from, 32 teams to 113 and all different levels, and that can be a little overwhelming. I would probably suggest doing just like, if you can find them, where they do like conference only, which is maybe they only pick the SEC, or maybe it's a Big Ten group and they only want to play Big Ten. So you would only pull those players from those schools. So, maybe start small, I guess is what I'm saying, and then work your way up. Because if you jump in, it's eat or get eaten,
Right. I remember that was an option. Power 5 conferences only was one of the options you could select. And man, even with that, you're talking 5 conferences times 12 teams. That's 55 something, 50 plus schools. It's
more than that now with the expansion, right? You got 16 and 18 teams in these conferences now. So
yeah. Let me bounce off that though, because that can also help you possibly when it comes to things like streaming. Like, have you ever streamed based on conference tendencies, like the Pac-12 and like the bit, what is it, the Big 12 now tend to score a lot of points. There's not as much defense as the SEC, so maybe you get some of your offensive players from those conferences and get some of your IDP players from like the SEC and the ACC. Do you ever do stuff like that?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty smart. I mean, because it is the Big 12. I think you're thinking of. They don't, and the Pac-12 too, right? They don't play a lot of defense either, so there's a ton of points. So naturally, offense, you want those schools that can score a ton of points against lesser competition. So yeah, IDPs just kind of vary. I kind of look at it differently now since I write about it a little bit. But I want IDP players from the SEC because if they can dominate in the SEC, there's a pretty good chance they'll be good when they get to the NFL. And then the further down you go, nothing against the ACC and the Big Ten and all them. I just don't think they're as good. But SEC, that next level, and then you got everybody else. So I just want the SEC because I'm looking ahead towards the NFL, right? So, but you can play it different ways because some of those lower conferences, where they don't play defense or are independents or something like that, they can score a lot of fancy points for you.
All right, let's shift gears. Let's talk a little Titans. So Hollywood is a massive Titans fan as well as an IDP degenerate. So let's talk about thoughts on the offseason. How'd you like their draft? How do you think things are looking for the Titans?
Man, I don't know, right? We got some nice players. Skronsky, I thought we needed him. We needed a receiver, but we decided to take Will Levis in the second round, which I'm just not happy about that at all. Got a big arm, talented, right? Pretty tough, but his decision making, that's rough. He had those problems last year in the SEC, and it's only going to get worse this year. And that's something you can't really teach. I mean, you can kind of coach it and try to correct it, but decision making when you're out there, it's just you and him. It's just him and the ball, right? So he's making too many wrong decisions for me. But other than that, I thought they had a pretty good draft. Still need a receiver. Looks like the news that DeAndre's coming to town this weekend, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, man. Yeah, there's your freaking receiver, brother.
Yeah, he's supposed to, I think, come in tonight or tomorrow. I thought I saw somewhere. He's supposed to be in this weekend. I did see he had a visit set up somewhere else.
It was in New
England. Yeah.
I don't think they won't pay him.
I think if he's looking to
I don't think so either.
compete, I would think he would want to go Titans, right? I mean, I'd go Titans if I think I want to compete.
Well,
I don't think the New England's not close, not yet. Of course, old Bill Belichick might shock the shit out of us like he's done in the past because he could turn seasons like pancakes. You know what I mean?
I think if he wants a boatload of money, he can probably go somewhere else. They can't. They can't pay him. Not because it's the Titans, but I like the situation for him because he can go to Tennessee and still be, quote unquote, the number one receiver, right? Because he's got all that experience. He's so talented, and Treylon Burks is still learning. So if he wants a me team, that fits right in for him, and I think he can go in there and help them win, especially with Tannehill and Henry and those guys. So I don't know. I think it's going to come down to money as always and what he wants, but maybe Vrabel can talk him into some shit or something and say, hey.
The IDP Pro podcasts are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Best Ball Mania 4 is here, and Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in prizes. And there are plenty of ways to win with NBA, NHL, and MLB player prop parlays as well. Head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN.
Well, go ahead and roll right in, man. Give us your season predictions for Tennessee.
I think a lot of things has got to go right. We got to find that receiver. Hopefully it's Hopkins, like I said. If we can land him, I like it a little better. If not, it's going to be some tough sledding, I think. But Vrabel's a good coach, so I would say 7-9, 8-8 at best. If we can get a good receiver and everybody plays well, then we could maybe push for 9, maybe 10. That's the high end.
All right. Well, how about a Super Bowl winner? What's the matchup? What are we looking at here? Give us a long shot.
I don't think Kansas City's going to make it back. They're going to get close. You want some long shots? Okay. The AFC would be the Jets with Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh.
There you go. We are on a gamblingpodcast.com, so I want to make sure they get this lowdown here again. Take this long shot. Jets and Rodgers, Super Bowl bound. All right. And what do you got for us in the NFC?
On the NFC, I think it's man, I want to say Philadelphia because man, that team is loaded, just loaded. I'm going to say Philadelphia. So yeah, the Jets versus Philly.
Nice.
Kind of obvious is, we're rolling with Cincinnati a lot. We're rolling with KC a lot. So, yeah. I mean, the Jets, hell, Rodgers is there.
I put Buffalo in there too, though.
Right. Hadn't had too much Buffalo talk, I don't think. I think we have maybe one.
That's a good matchup. I like that. I would take that. All right, Hollywood. So all things being even in a startup for IDP, what are you doing? Are you a linebackers first guy? Are you a defensive line first guy?
No, you definitely load up on linebacker. You got to know your scoring, right?
Sack on the ball.
You got to know what you got any kind of premiums and what kind of special scoring you got, what your league scoring is. That's the first thing you got to know. But 80% of leagues are skewed for linebackers to score the most points. And those type of leagues, you're looking at linebackers first, safeties, and then, defensive ends. After that, you really don't care about defensive tackles unless it's an Aaron Donald or Jeffrey Simmons. Corners, you've said it a million times, you can string freaking corners left and right. So you're looking at linebackers mainly in IDP, linebackers and safety.
Yeah, and that's my mind has changed on that somewhat over the years too, because it's so hard to find those 3-down guys nowadays. So I'm with you. All right, how about some more predictions?
Yeah.
So at the end of this upcoming season, if you had to guess right now, who's the number one at each position? Let's start with pass rush guys. Who's the best pass rusher?
TJ Watt's got to be close if he's healthy. He's got to be right there. I mean, that's hard to beat, right? I think Garrett's probably close in a lot of people's mind, but I would go TJ Watt right now if he's healthy.
Well, now you've already cracked that open, man. You got to throw on the rookie. If we want anybody's advice, it's yours.
It's got to be Will Anderson, right?
Yeah.
He's playing on a very bad team and going to get on the field a lot. So playing in kind of a weak division, too, with Tennessee and Jacksonville and the Colts. So, yeah, he's going to get his opportunities.
Defensive tackle.
A lot of people are going to tell you Elijah Canton. I like him. I'd go with Brian Breesy in New Orleans because I think he fits that system, especially with Cameron Jordan and those guys down there, DeMario Davis. So they're going to like him, and he's not really tied to defensive tackle, right? Because he can move to defensive end. He can play over the nose if he needs to. So really versatile player, really good player at Clemson. So, yeah, I think defensive tackle, it's definitely Brian Breesy.
How about a veteran defensive tackle, too?
You have to say Aaron Donald, right? But the thing with him, you just don't know how much longer he's got, right? Mm-hmm. If you can play year to year on a year-to-year basis, then sure, he's probably the best in the league, no doubt about it. But if you're playing Dynasty, you're kind of looking ahead, and it's kind of like the Tom Brady thing, right? He's the best at it, but when does he quit? When's it over? Outside of him, I think the next best one is Jeffrey Simmons. He's just like a bowling ball through those offensive linemen sometimes. So I think that's your top two defensive tackles easily.
Nice.
Yeah, just to let everybody listening know, too, we've talked about Aaron Donald, and yes, he is technically a defensive tackle or interior defensive lineman, but by goodness, you go to sleeper, most of these, he's also an edge rusher. For those of you that have not heard of Aaron Donald, I'm not sure how. Even if you're not a football fan in the past, this guy's just everywhere, right? I can imagine he owns the West Coast. Anyhow, just keep that in mind. That's one hell of an IDP play right there.
All right, let's look at inside linebacker. How about a rookie and a vet? Best inside linebacker end of this year.
The rookie is easy. It's going to be Jack Campbell, right, for Detroit. And I'll tell you, the more I think about it, and it's the same thing I keep thinking about, it's going to tell me he's going to pull out, right? So they got Malcolm Rodriguez and Alex Anzalone and Gerard Davis, and I forget the other one, Derek Barnes. So there's a log jam, and you're like, why are they drafting him? But man, he's so good. He's already impressing at the rookie camps and stuff. So, and you're like, well, he's a rookie. Yeah. Well, they picked him with an 18th pick. You don't draft somebody 18 overall in the first round to sit on the bench. So I think they're going to put him in and put Anzalone and probably Rodriguez on the outside of him and just let him do what he does, and that's tackle, man, because he's 100-plus tackles the last 2 years at Iowa. So, yeah, he's a tackling machine, man. Veteran? Oh, man. So tough. I think it's still Roquan Smith, right? Going to get you 130-plus tackles, probably going to get you some pass rush opportunities, sacks, and in a division that typically likes to run, right? Even though they pass a lot, they still got Joe Mixons and Najee Harris's of the world. So you've got to tackle those guys. So, yeah, I think he's number one linebacker in the NFL right now.
Hey, all you crazy IDP fans. We are hosting the IDPros Breast Cancer Awareness Giveaway, where you can win a Roquan Smith Baltimore Ravens jersey. All you have to do to enter is donate $3 or more to any nationally recognized cancer organization and post a pic of your donation with the hashtag IDPROS. That's hashtag IDPros. The drawing will be held on August 24th. Find more information on this podcast Twitter page or on any of your favorite IDP Pros accounts. Enter today and help us bring cancer to its knees.
Nice. Yeah, and I can't believe I'm getting ready to ask this, but I've actually been writing about these fellas, and they're actually a thing. How about cornerbacks?
They are. And I got so many things I got to say about this streaming corner bullshit.
Down.
Technically, that's the right play, right? To stream your freaking corners. 9 times out of 10, that's the right play. But I will say, there's just a handful of corners I'll target in every league every year, like Marcus Peters, right? Kind of sucked towards the end, but that's okay because he was just good enough. He could take one to the house anytime he touched it, right? Which is a major point. So, and a lot of times he had 5 or 6 interceptions and 15, 20 pass deflections. That's a lot of hidden points that you're just not getting from every corner. So,
Sack on the ball.
like I said, there's Ahmad Sauce Gardner last year, Tariq Woolen. Those are 2 that I targeted everywhere. I'll target them again this year. So while I think streaming for the most part is right, Johnny's right 90, 95% of the time on that. I think there is a handful that you can put on your roster and not have to worry about.
I'll tell you what, he was like chilled this whole time. I mentioned cornerbacks. He was up in his seat, up to that, just letting us know he's serious about this. I got to tell you, he was letting me know.
What about a rookie? What about a rookie corner?
Man, I think it's Devin Witherspoon back to Seattle because he's going to start on the outside of Woolen, right? And they got Kobe Brown in the slot, so that's going to be a scary defense up there with Jamal Adams and Bobby Wagner back in town. Yeah, that could be ugly quick for a lot of people.
How about safety? Give us a bet.
Hang on a second. Back to corners for 1 minute. You know our buddy John DeBarty?
I told you.
That right, Johnny? So he told me something that because I was on his Fancy for 40 and talking about rookies too, right? So he said, what do you think about corners? I was like, stream them, the same thing I just said here. And he said, well, the last 2 years, at the end of the season, he cuts every single corner that he has on his team. Doesn't matter who it is or what team they're for, he cuts it. He says, then I turn around in like 10-round drafts, I'm guessing is what he's playing in. He's like in the 8th, 9th, and 10th round, I'll draft corners and then I'll pick up rookies off the free agency. He picks up rookies or drafts rookies every year. And he said, I've not told the difference. I was like, that's insane.
Wow, that's wild, man. I've heard that before, the rookie corner thing, and that you could definitely do that. The trick is just getting one that plays all season because most of these guys aren't going in week 1 right away. You don't trust.
No, I'm not talking about just one. He cuts all of them and then drafts rookies and picks up rookies off the waiver wire all year, and I'm like, that is insane.
If it works for him, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally do it, but like you said, there's a rookie here and there that you could pick up. But oof, I was like, wow, man. He's like, I haven't seen a difference. And I was like, man, you said safety, so kind of a weird class, right? I think Brian Branch is the best safety in the class, but he's going to Detroit and they've already got a bunch of safety. So maybe because Tracy Walker's got some stuff going on. So does the other guy. I forget his name right off. So maybe they want to go younger next year or whatever. So I still like him as far as talent. I think he's the best safety. I would probably go Jordan Battle. Going to be a good fit. Can learn. I'm trying to think of overall safety. That's a little tougher, right? Because you just name it. Minka Fitzpatrick, Jesse Bates, Jamal Adams. You got all these guys. I just think for me right now, it's Minka Fitzpatrick. With the way he played down the stretch last year, I think he's kind of been in that safety 1 tier for a while, but now I think you're seeing him start to really tone it in and hone his skill, and I think he's moving up into that top echelon group. So, and he's still young.
Nice. We'll take that. We've been getting a lot of Derwin, so we'll take something different. That's for sure. Let me ask
Yeah, I mean,
you.
Derwin's a big hitter, right?
Yeah, he gets dinged a lot.
Morning. Nothing like waking up to crying kids, hungry pets, and an angry alarm clock. All a football fan wants is to get your kids to school, feed the dogs, and clock in at the office, and then you can finally settle in and enjoy a moment of peace with your morning cup of coffee. And you are just in time for the SGPN IDP Pro Manager Podcast, which your idiot league mates haven't yet discovered. Let Craig and Gary start your day with all the reliable IDP information you need. Tune in every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern on the SGPN Fantasy Football YouTube channel, where your SGPN IDP pros know exactly what you need, besides another cup of coffee.
And that actually brings us into our next question. Are there any guys, any big names you're avoiding this season?
Big names I'm avoiding. Got to be Shaq Leonard. If you don't have him, you're definitely avoiding him, right? If you're like me and you've got him in a lot of places, you really can't get nothing out of him. But what a great buy low, right? Because right now you can buy him for pennies on the dollar, and like buying a lotto ticket, you could hit the jackpot if he stays healthy. So avoiding Donald because I just don't know when he's going to retire. So I kind of avoid him too.
Nice. Sleepers, man. Let us get your vet sleepers. As many as you could afford us.
Yeah.
Deep as you like.
Deep as I like, huh?
Hell yeah, brother.
I think the Jets are going to have a couple with Will McDonald as the rookie, but Jermaine Johnson, who they drafted last year. So I think they both could be sleepers. Man, I'm trying to think. Like in Washington, they're going to have to make a decision with Jonathan Allen and some of these guys pretty soon. You know, they're Montez Sweat and Chase Young, who they didn't they didn't pick up his option. So if you've got a spot to wait for a little bit, maybe a couple of years, KJ Henry for a rookie coming out of Clemson would be a good fit. Another one is Myles Murphy, Cincinnati, because they've got some decisions. Hendrickson or Hubbard is gone. If maybe both, because they got to get Burrow's money somewhere, and he ain't going nowhere. So they're going to have to cut some money. I'm guessing it would be Hendrickson because he costs more right now. They can keep Hubbard and put Myles Murphy into Hendrickson's place. So, and you may see that this year. I mean, it may get to a point this year where he's just better than him, and I think he is. He's better than both of them, I think. So definitely towards the back end of the year, I can see that. But next year, I think it's his team for sure.
Going to ask you for your best linebacker sleeper veteran. There's a few of them.
Hollywood, how about an LB 3 or 4 sleeper you got for us?
Azeez Al-Shaair for Tennessee. They literally don't have anybody else to play linebacker, and they're going to be on the field a ton.
Stay on him. Sack on the ball.
I was so alluding to that.
Like
I really was. I was wanting to hear that because when we was talking about Tennessee, you know, I'd like to hear a little bit about a couple of those guys real quick, man. Tell everybody, Jeffrey Simmons the same freaking DL1 that he was 2 years ago?
Yeah, he was just a little banged up last year, which hurt him a little bit. But yeah, he's easily the second best player, defensive tackle behind Donald, easily.
All right, Landry, what are you doing with him? And I'm done with the ball.
I think I'm kind of passing on Landry. He's probably going to be the leading sack getter for them, but I just don't know how he's going to do coming off this injury. I got to see something. I got to see how he does. If you want a couple sleepers, I think Rashad Weaver, who's playing on the other side, is going to be a good pass rusher that you can probably get really cheap, and he can probably push in that edge 4 group because he's going to be about his sack numbers.
The IDP Pro podcasts on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network are brought to you by Edge Boost. My Edge Boost Double Down Play of the Day is for the Dallas Cowboys to beat 9.5 wins this season. Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. Head on over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up today. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge.
I'm trying to think of somebody else, a veteran that moves.
We got Ellis in Atlanta. We have there was
Jesse Bates going to Atlanta.
Yeah, let's keep it on Tennessee. Hollywood, tell me about Roger McCreary this year. Is he gonna? Let's get back to the corners for a second. Is he gonna repeat what he did last year?
I think so because they don't have anybody else. They really don't. Caleb Farley, damaged goods coming in, right? And he's just not been able to get fully healthy and get back on there. When he has been on the field, he's been a liability. You got Christian Fulton on the other side, who they hoped would be their shutdown guy, and he's garbage. I mean, he can't really. He's not fulfilling what they expect out of him. So yeah, I think McCreary's easily the best corner in Tennessee right now. They did get Sean Bunting Murphy. Is that how you say it? Or is it Murphy Bunting
from Tampa? Yeah. Murphy Bunting. Yep.
I think he's going to be our number 2 corner easily. I think he's going to pass up Farley and Fulton easily.
The IDP Pros podcast is presented by Edge Boost, the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in betting advances. Imagine what you can do with that increased bankroll. Bet down on some of your favorite futures without tying up your bankroll for months on end. You can double down on your favorite bet, use it to create an awesome middle, or hedge that parlay you've almost hit. Edge Boost isn't some sleazy loan shark. They charge 0% interest. Do you know of a way you can access more money to place on your favorite bets without paying any interest? Well, you do now. Support SGPN and grow your bankroll by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 21 years or older to use. Problem gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Good stuff, man. All right, well, Hollywood, let's wrap it up. Let's give you the floor. What do you got going on this season? Is there anything you want to shout out? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow all my work at IDPnation.com, even all the podcasts there. It's a pod page, so it's all podcast articles. You know, there's links to our sponsors for our show. There's links to the Patreon. There's donation things, whatever, the whole spiel there. Then the podcast, IDP Nation podcast that I've been doing with Kyle. DEVY IDP Grind, which is college that I do with a buddy of mine. So, yeah, if you're into IDP DEVY or Campus to Canton IDP, check that out. So, and then, of course, the Patreon, that's usually where most of my followers and stuff like to gravitate to because they're playing the college side, right? The DEVY stuff. And I post a ton of stuff over there, but I do a lot of NFL stuff too. This year I've made already a ton more trades than I have in some years combined, right? But I just went into a full trade. So any trade that I do with IDP, I put it on the Patreon and break it down and put up polls, see what other people think about my trade. So yeah, all kinds of articles, rankings, all kinds of good stuff. And that's where you can find my DEVY rankings too. IDP DEVY, 220 of those bad boys ranked over there. So I think that's enough.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Everyone, please make sure you're following him. He's at Hollywood Titan on Twitter. He's at IDP Nation and DEVY IDP Grind. Hollywood, thank you for joining us, sir. It was a pleasure. And
go support Hollywood. It's very important. He was getting kind of modest, maybe saying something about the Patreon. Hey, support your local IDP rider, damn it. Have a good one.
We'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.